as they arrive. But first, our top stories. The Bank of England has raised the rate of interest for the first time in a decade. It's gone up from 0.25% to 0.5%. The appointment of Chief Whip Gavin Williamson as Defence Secretary has prompted some criticism from some MPs. And the Labour MP Kelvin Hopkins has been suspended by the party following allegations of harassment. Hello there, you're watching the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive, and in the next half hour we'll see what's making the headlines with the Observer's chief leader writer, Sonia Sodha, and the editor of Westmonster.com, Michael Heaver. So let's see what is on the front of some of those pages. The appointment of the new Defence Secretary is the lead for The Telegraph. It says Theresa May's choice is proof she's planning her succession. The Metro has the same story and a backlash against the PM's decision to promote Gavin Williamson. The Times says senior Tory party MPs and members of the military are unhappy with the appointment. And the Eye newspaper follows suit and leads with that story. The Financial Times goes with the Bank of England's decision to raise interest rates for the first time in a decade, as it hints more increases are to come. The Daily Express claims 56,000 migrants are on the run in Britain. Michelle Pfeiffer is also pictured at tonight's premiere of Murder on the Orient Express. And The Star has a case of an alleged US-style school massacre plot. Well, I'm joined now by Sonia Sodha and Michael Heaver. Welcome to you both. Let's take a look at The Telegraph. That's the one that you've picked out first. And there it is, May's plans for succession. This is all about Gavin Williamson, who was Chief Whip, who's now suddenly the Defence Secretary. Anna Soubry tweeting today that he seems to have picked a plum job for himself. Sonia.
That's right, and the Telegraph spin on this is very much about May making plans for what's going to come after her. Now, she may be planning for her succession by having promoted Gavin Williamson, who's a key ally to her, to the position of Defence Secretary. But I think that the reaction that he's had from Conservative MPs shows that, you know, there's probably a bit more planning to do yet. So his appointment has been greeted in very, very hostile terms. In fact, I can't remember when the appointment of a new cabinet minister was greeted with this level of hostility, really. And I think it kind of illustrates just how weak Theresa May is as Prime Minister. If she was in a much stronger position, if she had authority within her party, you certainly wouldn't expect all these MPs to be coming forwards and saying, essentially, what is she doing? We don't want this person as our Defence Secretary. I mean, you even had one MP, Sarah Wollaston, sort of say, well, sometimes when you get offered a job, your best place to just say it should go to someone with more experience. And I think it will be a mix of things. I think it will be a mix of people feeling that he didn't really deserve this. He's quite a sort of, you know, he's not been in Parliament that long. He's never been a junior minister before, let alone in Cabinet, and this is quite a senior job in Cabinet. And I think it's a mix of people's backbench Conservative MPs being quite unhappy with May.
Having said that, he's a man who had a lot of experience in other life before he became involved in politics, wasn't he? You know, he ran businesses, he did lots of other things. A man from a state school, you know, a man who's not like a lot of Tory MPs. So, you know, maybe Theresa May's breathing a breath of fresh air into the Defence Department. Well,
no, I just think it's quite extraordinary, as Sonia said. I mean, you've got Prime Minister here, Theresa May, is incredibly weak position in terms of very slim parliamentary majority of the DUP and all the rest of it. And she's made this incredibly unpopular internal decision. And I think there's really two potential answers to this. One's planning for the future and the talk of him, the succession coming after her as the next leader, next Prime Minister, or just sheer incompetence. Because whatever way you cut it, if this hasn't been done in terms of a long-term plan, in terms of the leadership, then this is really, really bad management. I mean, Theresa May at the moment hasn't got a lot of currency with many Conservative MPs. Obviously, there's been various rifts. There's been things over Brexit. You know, a lot of MPs behind the scenes saying perhaps they're not necessarily very happy with her. And to go down this route, I think shows once again, I mean, what's going on inside the Conservative Party? This is, you know, a completely unforced error. She didn't have to appoint this person. It could have been someone else. I'm sure there are lots of other people. Tobias Ellwood is one name I've heard that could have been put in. And look, you know, not a controversial choice, a solid choice, and yet they've gone down this route. And really, if it isn't just a long-term plan for who's going to come after the next leader, then it just stinks again of real sheer incompetence.
Should she have appointed a woman, Sonia?
I think she absolutely should have considered appointing a woman as Defence Secretary. I think that would have been quite a statement, but I particularly think she should have thought of appointing a woman to the position of Chief Whip that Gavin Williamson has left vacant. And obviously this little mini tiny reshuffle has been prompted by Michael Fallon having to resign because there are a number of allegations circulating about him. There's been one in the press over the last kind of 48 hours. There are more allegations in the press circulating him tonight about inappropriate behaviour with colleagues and with other women. And so the Chief Whip has a really key role, because the Chief Whip is often the person who investigates MPs in their own parties and knows, you know, for want of a better phrase, kind of digs up the dirt. Now, in the Commons, that information is often held by the whips as sort of, you know, leverage over MPs. So when an MP is saying, well, I might rebel on this vote, the Chief Whip can say, well, actually, we've got this bit of dirt on you. I think you better walk through the lobby that we want you to in the House of Commons. I think we better vote the way that you want. Now, that culture is really quite toxic, because you shouldn't be having a system where the Chief Whip is sitting on information about, you know, sexual harassment, even sexual assault potentially, rather than thinking about the people who are coming forwards and saying this has happened to them. And so I think that there were a lot of, I think, female MPs in Theresa May's party who would have taken some real reassurance in her appointing a woman. And she could have appointed a woman. She appointed Esther McVeigh as Deputy Chief Whip. So
Penny
I think
Mordaunt has a lot of experience.
Absolutely. I think it would have been much smarter to put a woman in that position.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for Theresa May, the headline that you've got in the Telegraph there, I just think is massively unhelpful, and it's completely, as I say, unforced error. They didn't have to have these headlines. With everything else going on, this didn't have to happen. They could have made a far less controversial choice, and they haven't. And, you know, that raises big question marks over judgment.
I suspect, actually, that they would be taken aback by quite the level of hostility that they've received. And I think she probably found herself in, you know, between a rock and a hard place, and felt that, you know, with Michael Fallon, who was incredibly loyal to her going, that she needed to appoint another key ally, someone she could really trust, who wouldn't be looking to topple her to this sort of key position in cabinet. But as you say, Michael, it has backfired.
Well, you talked about Michael Fallon and the allegations of harassment. Also on the front of the Telegraph, we've got on the right-hand side there, Labour MP suspended over sex harassment allegations. This is Kelvin Hopkins, Shadow Minister until last year. He's had the Labour whip removed. This is over allegations from 27-year-old Ava Etimadzada, who is alleging that he behaved inappropriately towards her at a Labour Party event.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a sign that this is going to roll on and on now. I think you'll see a number of allegations come out over the next week, who knows, the next month, and you're going to see a number of MPs, I imagine, in the firing line for this as these allegations come out. Interestingly, you know, I do think it's very, very important to separate, you know, texts or a bit of harassment or an MP making an idiot of themselves with actual sexual assault, rape, and things like this, and just looking at some of the